Discover the discerning woman who dumped her guy for a ghost.
Celebrate a gender reveal party with an 8 million-year-old killing machine.
Visit a city terrorized by something so horrible that we can't even think of something funny to say.
All this and more to puzzle, ponder, and positively petrify.
It will enlighten.
It will then frighten.
It will all be in this week's Frothy Frappe of Odd Tonic.
Welcome to the parlor. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Maxwell. Settle in for another curiously odd visit with us this evening. We have your tea waiting just the way you like it.
With a splash of spooky.
Or a dash of devilishness. Because we believe in variety.
And we have a fine variety of stories for you this evening, dear guest. And because you're a fellow oddling who wants to stay in the know, this week's weird tales are ripped from recent headlines.
And just like our last strange news show, we guarantee these stories to be just as weird and compelling as any other. In fact, we've discovered a story that is so, how do we describe it, love?
So completely mind-numbingly terrifying beyond rational thought that you may have to pull off the road for a moment while listening, or hold a friend's hand for the next 2 hours afterwards.
Yes, that seems accurate.
Well, don't worry, dear guest. We've saved that one for the end. Let's embrace the now and build your courage with these unusual tales.
Tonight, we'll cover a museum visitor whose incredible guess earned him the entire staff's gratitude, and meet a woman who discovered the unthinkable during her ancestral DNA report.
But first, a couple of weeks ago, Strange News buffs received an ominous update on a very unusual ongoing story. We'll bring you up to speed in case you haven't been following.
And let us disclose that discretion is advised. If you have young oddlets listening, we're going to be talking about what happens when two adults love each other very much and give each other a very special hug, and one of the adults happens to be dead. And a ghost. Yes, things are about to get pretty freaky in the parlor tonight.
Don't blame me. I wanted to talk about mermaids.
Next show, love. Next show. So, if you need to skip ahead, just jump ahead to about 16 minutes in, and we'll find a completely different way to scar your children for life.
I've been thinking, when we decided to dedicate some Odd Tonic episodes to current weird news, there was an unexpected benefit, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It definitely has us exploring topics that I don't think we would have thought of covering left to our own devices, and it sort of spices things up.
Yeah, it's really true. And, speaking of spicy, the paranormal doesn't get much zestier than spectrophilia, which describes both a fetish and a phenomena. A spectrophilia fetish describes being sexually attracted or aroused by ghosts, or by thoughts of being intimate with them.
Which helps support a very healthy paranormal romance book genre, wherein you can explore the sexy couplings of mostly women with ghosts, werewolves, vampires, dragons, extraterrestrials, Sasquatch, the list goes on. And we'll leave you to investigate this fascinating rabbit hole for yourself.
And spectrophilia as a phenomenon describes exactly what you'd think: the act of being sexually seduced or even attacked by a spirit.
Now, the concept of ghostly hanky-panky goes way back. Many ancient cultures' folklore have these type of stories, including Arabic, Greek, Hindu, and Celtic. And in Western tradition, medieval texts discuss the demons that appear in male form, incubus, and female form, succubus, who plague the righteous bodies of the devout at night. But if you're into that sort of thing, is that so bad? Let's explore.
In December of 2017, a 28-year-old spiritual guidance counselor from Nottingham, Amethyst Realm, appeared on the UK's ITV This Morning show. On it, she explained how, a decade before, she stumbled into an ethereal romance. She and her boyfriend, Adam, had just moved into a house in Hereford. Adam's work would have him gone for 1 to 2 weeks at a time, and during one of those times, Amethyst says she began to sense a presence in the house, particularly in the spare bedroom where the energy seemed to be strongest, where she could actually feel someone come up behind her and breathe on her neck. But rather than being frightened, she said she felt comforted to have someone with her. And as the week went on, the presence began to manifest more. It started as an energy, then became physical, Amethyst says. Well, as they say, a girl gets lonely. After feeling what can only be described as an emotional rapport with the spirit, Amethyst decided to take things up a level by laying on the guest bed wearing slinky lingerie, where her proposal waited, and waited until she was about to fall asleep. That's when her ghostly Romeo arrived, and they made, according to Amethyst, sweet, sweet, spooky love to full satisfaction. In describing the experience, she says, it's like any other kind of sex. The main difference, she explains, is that she just can't see her lover.
Wow.
Thus began a 3-year ethereal affair while her boyfriend was at work. Until one day, she was found out.
Oops.
Adam had come home a day early from work, Amethyst remembers. The first I knew was when I heard him charging up the stairs. My ghost lover left when he sensed that I was starting to panic.
Did he jump out the window in his ghostly underwear?
Adam burst into the bedroom shouting, "Where is he?" It was difficult to deny that I hadn't been up to something. I was on the bed in my sexiest lingerie. Adam told her that he had seen someone through the bedroom window from the street below.
Ghost butt.
She continues. He raced up the stairs in the hope of catching me. When he couldn't see anyone, he looked baffled. There was no way out apart from down the stairs. He asked me where he was hiding. That's when I told him that the man he had seen through the window, a man that I had never actually seen myself, was a ghost. And, undoubtedly, Amethyst was wise enough not to inquire how dreamy her ghost lover's appearance was.
What did he look like? Did he mention me?
2 things ended that day. 1, Amethyst's relationship with Adam. And 2, Amethyst's desire to be with any living man. All her relationships since have been strictly non-corporeal. Why? Well, ghost lovers tend to be more sensual and adept than the average bloke, she explains. Since her first spectral lover, Amethyst says she's been with 20 others.
Wow.
In October of 2018, Amethyst appeared again on ITV This Morning and announced that she had at last found her soulmate in Australia. She said, "I had not had a phantom fling for a while, and as I was away on business, starting a new relationship was the last thing on my mind. Then, one day, while I was walking through the bush enjoying nature, I suddenly felt this incredible energy. A new lover had arrived. And when it was time to return home, she was heartbroken, as she thought she would have to leave her new love. From experience, I knew spirits tend to stay in one place, but something amazing happened. On the plane," she said, as she fastened her seatbelt, she felt the presence of her lover. "I couldn't believe it," she exclaimed. "I was so happy and excited, so excited that we had to do something about it. So we headed to the plane loo and, well, I am now a member of the Mile High Club." Says Amethyst, "I know in my heart that he's the one for me. We're soulmates, meant for each other, and that'll never change. The fact that he's a spirit is by the by." And 9 months later, her ghostly lover popped the question. He instructed her to go to the Wookiee Hole Caves tourist attraction in Somerset.
What?
Yeah. UK, you've been holding out on us. Wookiee Caves.
Where all the ghost lovers go.
That's right. Halfway through the tour, he told me he wanted to hang back from the group, says Amethyst. That's when it happened. For the first time, I heard him speak. Amethyst claims that the phrase, "Will you marry me?" echoed around the cave. She says, "It's hard to explain, but up until that point, his words were inside my head. But on that day, the words were outside. I could actually hear his voice, and it was beautiful, deep, sexy, and real."
Wow. I keep getting caught up in this story, and I have to remind myself that he's a ghost. He's not real.
You're not the only one. Amethyst said yes, and the big day is planned for summer of 2019. Oh, very sweet. Nothing could possibly go wrong, right?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is a case study that she may want to look into. 47-year-old Amanda Teague, a Captain Jack Sparrow impersonator from Downpatrick, Northern Ireland, married her ghost lover of 4 years, who conveniently was a 300-year-old pirate ghost, also named Jack, on July 23, 2016. The couple wed in a private, pirate-themed ceremony on a boat in international waters off of Ireland. They had also hired a medium so Jack could say, "I do," making the union official on paper. Which finally brings us to the headline posted just a couple weeks ago. Amanda not only divorced her ghost pirate husband, but had him exorcised as well. She said, "After 2 weeks of marriage, I started to get health problems. I started to get reoccurring perianal abscesses, and I was suffering from cirrhosis."
Ugh.
Then, after her dog Toby died, Amanda said the ghost of Toby was incredibly aggressive towards Jack and wouldn't go near him. Animals are quite intuitive about people, so this was a big red flag to me, Amanda mused.
Ghost animals in particular.
Her health began to get worse. She said, "I was getting abscesses reoccurring all the time after Jack and I would have any sexual relationship. So she cut off the sex with the ghost, however you do that, in order to see if that helped. The abscesses started to improve. That was literally the best 3 weeks I had since we got married," Amanda said. After Amanda and Jack attended a wedding and were later intimate, you know how weddings are.
Yeah, you know how they are.
The abscesses were back with a vengeance the next day. In May of 2018, Amanda was whisked off to the hospital for surgery after developing sepsis. She said, "I almost died and I was in the hospital for a week. Following the surgery, doctors warned Amanda that she might need a colostomy bag due to her ill health." But Amanda sought the help of a close friend who reminded Amanda that health problems like these could be caused by Jack possessing her body and encouraged her to talk to Jack about it. When she confronted Jack, she claims he threatened to kill her if she attempted to break off their spiritual union. She said, "It was terrifying seeing a completely different side to the lovely spirit I had seen before, but I knew in my heart that if I didn't get rid of him, my health was getting so bad that I was probably going to die anyway." You know, it's awkward when you're around couples fighting. It would be really awkward to be around someone where you can't hear one side of the conversation and someone's threatening to kill you. I don't know. Incredibly, following the exorcism in December, Amanda says her health has drastically improved, including the miraculous healing of a perforated bowel. Says Amanda, "I went to the hospital recently and the junior doctor called in a consultant because she was like, 'I've never seen this before.' If I hadn't gotten the exorcism done, I think I definitely would be going around with a colostomy bag."
Happy anniversary.
I got you something. Amanda says she has sworn off all spiritual work and is now warning people about casually dabbling in communicating with the dead. She adds, "I quit it all because I'm terrified."
So, better sign a paranormal prenup, Amethyst.
Good advice.
When we return, we'll meet some Romanian witches who are casting a spell over the internet. And Remember that terrifying story we mentioned earlier? It's still waiting to be unleashed at the end of the show. Waiting, anticipating, probably breathing heavily.
In the meantime, don't go tantalizing a 300-year-old pirate in your sexy underwear. Tonic will be back after we just take a break for a while. It's not you, it's us.
Dear guest, you may have heard that we are raising funds on Patreon to create an Tonic video experience.
But that's a risky effort. I mean, what if we turn out to be vampires that can't be captured on video?
Or just two talking heads in jars. Is that really photogenic? I don't know.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Support us at patreon.com/oddtonic. Earn some spooky rewards in the process, like a cool t-shirt, and ultimately find out if our alien lizard eyes reflect back as red or green under the camera lights.
And isn't that the real reward? The knowing?
That's patreon.com/oddtonic.
Another way to support the show is to write us a kind review on iTunes.
Definitely.
One weirdo's recommendation is priceless to another weirdo looking for a new podcast.
Now let's return for more nefarious news items.
Welcome back. So far, we've learned that your sex life can come back to haunt you. Yeah. And that some breakups require a divorce and an exorcism.
And beware tonight's last terrifying story.
Yes. But first, let's visit some witches who are weaving a web of spells on the internet.
Witchcraft has long been seen as a custom in Mogoșoaia, Romania, and many of its estimated 4,000 witches are luring customers from Europe, Asia, and the United States. And now, thanks to modern times, the internet has allowed Romania's busy witch community to gradually migrate their ancient practices onto the web. A truly powerful witch can solve problems from a distance, explains 20-year-old witch Cassandra Buzia. It's not the phone or Facebook that are doing the magic. It's the words we are saying, the rituals we are doing, and it's enough to look each other in the eye for the ritual to work. Nothing's changed. The craft is the same, but now it's much easier for us to be in contact with clients from other countries, says Mihaela Minka, who taught her daughter Buzia the family craft. From tarot readings to complex spells for love, health, or money, there's no reason to travel further than your monitor and keyboard to contact an authentic Romanian witch. And business is booming. The witches would not disclose how much they earn, but said that a tarot reading starts at 50 euros.
A veritable bargain.
I love how modern technology can mix with the old magic.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange collision of worlds.
Well, having done long-distance tarot reading for years, as well as a few remote spells now and again, I don't need any convincing. It's just as effective.
Now available on the Jennifer Page Etsy site. Offer is limited. Order now. Well, here's a story where an ordinary guy works a little magic of his own for the Vermilion Heritage Museum in Alberta, Canada. Over the years, the small museum tried everything in its power to unlock an old safe that was tucked away in their basement. The combination had been lost. The museum hired blacksmiths, called the manufacturer, contacted former employees, and challenged guests to play around with the safe. But nobody had any success. Until last month, when a visitor cracked the code on his first try, much to the astonishment of everyone present. Stephen Mills was on a family camping trip with his wife, his 2 children, and his father-in-law, and wanted to check out interesting sights in the area. The museum was actually closed that day, but they managed to track down one of the volunteers, Tom Kibblewhite, who opened the doors and showed them around. After giving the Mills family a tour of the whole building, the volunteer proceeded to show them the objects in the basement, including the mysterious safe. It originally had belonged to the town's Brunswick Hotel, which opened in the early 1900s, Kibblewhite said. When the hotel shut down in the late 70s, the safe was locked, and so it had remained. It was like a time capsule. Nobody had any idea of what was in there, Mills said. Like other visitors, Mills was offered a chance to take a crack at opening it. So he put his ear up to the safe, just like you see in the movies, he said. I looked at the dial and saw the numbers were running from 0 to 60. So I thought in my head, 20, 40, 60. I did the combination, tried the handle, and it opened.
Wow.
It was a 100% guess, he said. I was fully amazed. I stepped back a little and I thought, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket tonight. The contents of the safe proved a little disappointing. Mills said, some papers, old checks, a waitress notepad, and a receipt from the hotel. That's it.
Why would you even put that in there?
All the papers dated back to 1977-78. Nonetheless, Mills said everyone was pretty excited about the lucky guess. There was no way to be disappointed when you had so much excitement at the fact that it actually opened, Mills said. It was just a total disbelief that it had actually worked. Though Mills may have finally given the museum the answer it longed to search for, Kibblewhite said the plan is for now to err on the side of caution and keep the safe open. We're going to disable it enough so it can't be locked again, he said.
And then the safe door slowly swung shut behind him. Clunk.
Curses! But really, wow, those odds are astronomical. Yeah. Having bragging rights to that has got to be pretty rewarding.
Right. It's one of those things you would never write in a novel or a movie because it's just unbelievable.
Right. And kind of like our next story. A man had a 1 in a million encounter that he won't want to repeat.
The odds are in his favor, I hope. Roy Severtson was sitting in his living room using his iPad for over an hour, mind you, when he got an unpleasant surprise. As he went to close up his iPad, a bat came crawling out from between the back of the device and its cover and bit his finger.
Ah.
It felt like a little bee sting, Roy said, and I looked, and the bat was coming out of there between the cover and the back of the pad. He started to press down on the cover to keep the bat from flying away. Ouch.
Correct.
And he said he took the bat outside and set him free, but when the bat was still there the next morning, Roy sensed trouble. Because it was dead.
Gong, gong, gong.
Officials told him to go to the hospital to start rabies treatment.
Why did he not go immediately?
Right? We've all seen Cujo. It was a good thing he did because the bat tested positive for rabies. He was treated quickly and is expected to make a full recovery.
Of course the bat had rabies.
His iPad had a virus. I'm sorry, couldn't help it. When asked how the bat got into his house and the iPad case, Roy had a ready-made response. He quipped, "He probably knew my password."
Well, he seems to be in pretty good humor for someone who had a brush with rabies.
Yeah.
It's a good thing he went in for tests.
Tests. They can reveal such wonderful things, like if you're about to accidentally marry your brother, or that old classic, you're not as smart as you thought you were. One woman took a genetic test to find out her family heritage, and she received some answers no one would have ever predicted.
One of the strangest DNA test result stories we've come across is of a woman who had twin daughters. She took a DNA test and found out that the twins weren't hers. However, she knew all too well she had conceived and birthed them.
Yeah, I don't think you forget something like that.
It had to be a mistake, right? The truth is incredibly strange. Her children had their aunt's DNA, her sister. The thing is, she didn't have a sister. Not a living one, at least. It turned out that she had absorbed her twin sister in the womb, and it was her sister's DNA that was showing up in her daughter's tests. A similar story happened with a baby born in Washington State in 2014. The child's father is a genetic chimera, a person who carries 2 sets of DNA. After failing several paternity tests, the man learned that his genetic contribution actually belonged to a twin that he had absorbed in the womb. The vanished twin, therefore, was technically the baby's father.
That's so crazy.
Most people with chimerism will never find out. The process of absorption takes place so early in fetal development that there are rarely outward signs. A mother named Lydia Fairchild was the subject of intense scrutiny after DNA tests showed that she couldn't possibly be the mother of her 2 children. As a pregnant single mother of 2 applying for welfare benefits in 2002, Fairchild and her children had to undergo paternity testing. The results confirmed that the father of Fairchild's children was, in fact, their father, but according to the DNA tests, Fairchild wasn't their mother. The state threatened to take her children away. Fairchild was accused of welfare fraud and illegal surrogacy. The DNA evidence against her seemed airtight. Even her own parents began to doubt her story.
Wow.
Families, right? Only when doctors read about another case did they consider the possibility that Fairchild might be a chimera. Genetic testing bore out the theory, and Fairchild got to keep her kids. Bullet dodged.
Wow. I think my takeaway is I'm never going to get any kind of ancestral testing done. I don't need to know where I'm from.
Well, love, don't you want to finally know whether it's Sealy or unsealy court?
I'll wait for the raven to bring my paperwork.
Well, speaking of revealing answers, one couple decided for their gender reveal party to call on the aid of a very unusual guest.
First thing that came to my mind when my girlfriend and I decided to have a gender reveal party were alligators, said Mike Kleibert. Before you start laughing or screaming, why? Mike is an alligator wrangler and trainer who runs Kleibert's Turtle and Alligator Farm in Hammond, Florida, and goes by the name T-Mike, the Gator King. They're a big part of our family, so why not incorporate them into our reveal, Mike said.
Why not?
Family and guests filmed the event. At one point in the video, Kleibert places a watermelon into the gator's mouth. The reptile snaps her jaw shut, and blue liquid comes gushing out of her mouth, indicating that Kleibert's baby is going to be a boy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I'm still screaming, why?
Yeah, it's festive, and go with what you know, right?
When I think baby, I don't think gator crushing a melon and an explosion of blue baby goo. It's just...
It's maybe a little too metaphorical to feeding infants to alligators.
Yes! Let's just move on.
To the final story?
It's about time. Our guest has been waiting.
Dim the lights. Grab a blankie.
And a shot of whiskey. It's time for our terrible tale of the evening.
Something strange has been reported by numerous citizens of Jackson, Mississippi, in the city's Belhaven district, where once happy residents now hurry home as dusk approaches, locking their doors and peeking with concern from behind closed curtains. Waiting, wondering, will they be the next to become afflicted? For in the city of Jackson, lurking on top of mailboxes, on garden walls, perched on top of cars, and in strange places outside of people's homes, citizens have found bowls of mashed potatoes. I walked outside yesterday morning at 7 a.m. and got into my car, and that's when I noticed a white bowl on my windshield, said local resident Jordan Lewis. It was full of rainwater. I threw it away. I was totally grossed out by it. Struggling for answers, some residents believe that the stunt may have some connection to Belhaven University. So far, I have realized that some of the victims of the mashed potatoes are actually staff or Belhaven students or alumni, said Michaela Lynn. I feel like there has to be a connection there. Jackson may never sleep again. If the mystery is not solved soon, neighbors could turn on each other. Former friends and loved ones will point accusing fingers. Families could be torn apart. Property values may drop, leaving a longing for the prosperous days when the city was free of random bowls of mashed potatoes. Some people were thinking maybe the mashed potatoes were poisoned to kill animals, said local Sebastian Bernegard. I didn't taste it, but some people were worried. Mashed potatoes. The infinite enigma. The seductive savoriness. When will the nightmare end?
It just goes to show that life will always be unexpected, filled with mystery and beauty that no amount of imagination could possibly predict. And now I'm hungry.
Well, I would be happy to whip up some mashed potatoes for you, darling. I'll leave the poison on the side, as I don't know how much you take.
Oh, you're just as sweet and thoughtful as my ghost.
What?
What?
Well, I guess that wraps up this edition of Odd Tonic. We hope you've been at least entertainingly disturbed by tonight's stories.
If they linger in your memory, come join us in our group on Facebook and talk it out. Facebook.com/groups/oddtonic.
And follow us on our page, Twitter and Instagram, at Odd Tonic Society.
We'll be back next week with more weird history, strange science, and paranormal puzzles.
This is, dear guest, goodbye for now. But remember, if you ever cozy up in your favorite chair with your iPad to settle in for some light evening reading, and you feel a sharp, sudden bite upon your finger, don't worry.
It's just us.
Good night.